I'm here, delighted to be here to welcome you to St. Paul, the capital of the great state of Minnesota, and welcome to the 2012 Immersion Conference. The conference is sponsored by CARLA, the Center for Advanced Research on Language Acquisition, a small but mighty linguistic powerhouse at the University of Minnesota, and co-sponsored by 9 different units of the university, as well as by the Minnesota Advocates for Immersion Network. My name is Meredith McQuaid. I'm the Associate Vice President and Dean for International Programs at the University of Minnesota, and in that capacity, I technically oversee CARLA, but if you know Elaine Tyrone, nobody really oversees her. I am absolutely delighted to see so many people here this afternoon to join in a multicultural discussion about the many aspects of language immersion. This is the 4th Immersion Education Conference CARLA has hosted and the largest, reflecting the expanding number and types of programs in pre-K to 20 schools in the U.S. and abroad. The voices, the languages, and the perspectives represented by the plenary speakers alone reflects the growth, the depth, and the breadth of language immersion education. I trust that the pre-conference workshops piqued both interest and discussion in all things immersion, from launch to integration and on through assessment of an immersion language program. The next 2 days will include formal talks and informal networking among your colleagues, and I encourage you while you're here to expand your network of like-minded people who share an interest in creating a multilingual world through language immersion education. But here's the thing. I'm a Minnesotan, born and raised, very proud of the state, and I also want to encourage you to take your colleagues and your conversations outside into what promises to be a beautiful Minnesota fall weekend when you can. Walk along the Mississippi. We're right on the shores of the Mississippi. Take a look at Old Man River, fresh from its start just 200 miles north of here. Now, I understand that the majority of people registered for the conference are actually from outside of Minnesota, so you might be pleased to know that travelers and tourists from all over the world come to Minnesota to see the Mississippi River, one of the world's major river systems in size, habitat diversity, and biological productivity. Here's just a few key facts for you. Mississippi is an Ojibwe Indian word meaning great river or gathering of waters. It's the longest and largest river in North America. It is the 3rd longest river in the world. It flows 3,705 kilometers from its source at Lake Itasca up north, through the Minnesota North Woods, through the mid-continental US, the Gulf of Mexico coastal plain, and its subtropical Louisiana Delta. Samuel Clemens, better known perhaps as Mark Twain, wrote extensively about the Mississippi River, his own travels and those of his fictional characters, Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. His book of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is known for its colorful description of people and places along the Mississippi and its sober and often scathing look at entrenched attitudes of the time, particularly racism. But that's not the only thing Samuel Clemens and Mark Twain wrote about. Mark Twain wrote extensively about language as well, both the English language and the German language. It is Mark Twain who said, "I never knew before what eternity was made for. It is to give some of us a chance to learn German." But of course, Mark Twain did not study German in a German language immersion school. He did appreciate, however, the power of immersion education. In a letter dated July 1st, 1878, Mark Twain, he was writing as himself, Samuel Clemens, gives advice to a young man who will soon be visiting Europe. Clemens says, "I hope that in France, Germany, and Italy, you will go and board with people who know no English and make yourself perfectly familiar with those languages." Clemens advises that the young man must be turned loose on the languages. And if he is, Clemens writes, he will speak them all like a native inside of 9 months. And he says, "I would rather possess that sort of intellectual property than any other that human science can furnish." Samuel Clemens and Mark Twain gave us many things: humor and joy and satire and a love of language. Your work in developing programs and opportunities for young people to become immersed in another language in order to truly understand and appreciate the language and the culture provides the sort of intellectual property described by Samuel Clemens as valued by many, indeed more valuable than any other that human science can furnish. Thank you for all that you do. Again, welcome to St. Paul, and have a wonderful weekend.